be looking next at how impression level data can take your game to the next level. That's the topic for discussion. And we're going to be discussing that in the company of Vincent Fevrier, I hope I said that right, from MoPub, and Hadrien Rotours of IsCool Entertainment. So I believe they're slowly coming into the room, and I shall say hello to them. We've got so much great stuff lined. This is going to be a great talk. We've got so much great stuff lined up. We're going to take you all the way through to 1 o'clock with this. Hello. How are we? Oh, straight into sharing. There we go. There's no messing about. How are you doing, guys? Vincent, how are you?
Very good here. Thank you. How are you?
Looking very good. You're looking very well groomed, sir, if I may say so. Look, I feel like I should put more product in. I'm looking kind of a bit disheveled.
I'm not, but thank you.
It's good. Okay, so Vincent and Hadrien, you're all good? Are you ready to just launch in? You seem to be chomping at the bit to going. So
yeah, I think we've got a lot of content to cover, so we just want to try to be conscious and on time.
We're starting a little bit late. You get your time. Don't worry. It's all relaxed. It's all virtual here. There's nobody going to come with a big shepherd's crook and pull you off stage. So I'll hand it over to you, and I'm here in the background as and when needed, and I'll come in with some questions and stuff at the end. So over to you guys.
Thank you so much, and we're super excited to be here today. Let me actually. Oops, my bad. Let me come back to the main screen. Yeah, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar session with Hadrien. So today we'll talk a little bit more about many topics, but especially how impression level revenue data can help you elevate your game. Let me introduce myself quickly. I'm Vincent Fevrier. I'm a senior publisher account director here at MoPub. I've been with MoPub for about 2 years, and I cover our partnerships for the French, Israel, Spanish, and Italian market. So a lot of gaming publishers in this region, big focus on hyper casual as well. As you know, today, our mobile gaming and mobile advertising economy is changing at an incredible speed. Real-time bidding, automation, user-level data, and just to top up this, iOS 14 now coming in. So all these topics are evolving very quickly and requiring our developer and their teams to adapt every week in order to keep up with the competition. As we know, it's also a very competitive market. So this is why today's talk is going to be very important for you guys. We're going to learn how we can embrace and adapt to those new practice through precious advice, sharing tips to master your monetization and your user acquisition. So that's why today I have the chance, I'm the lucky person to have the perfect guest for that, who is Hadrien Rotours. He's the co-founder and CEO of IsCool Entertainment. It's a Paris-based studio. They are one of the leaders in Europe for word games. They launched in 2011 and they were acquired a couple of years ago by the Hachette Group. So the IsCool team has been working with MoPub for a bit more than a year now as their only mediation platform. So we learn a lot from them as they have been able to master MoPub at the best way. So yeah, I'll quickly introduce Hadrien. He will introduce briefly himself and his company, but rapidly I can mention that he was very helpful last year because he detailed us how he was using impression level revenue data through a quite concrete and precise case study that you can find on MoPub website. It was in partnership with Adjust, which is the attribution that you are using. But jumping in quick into the content now, because we do have a lot to cover today. Hadrien, first of all, thanks so much for joining us on this webinar, for taking the time here today, for being such a great partner with MoPub. Can you tell us a couple of words about your games at IsCool and how impression level revenue data has helped you reach about 15% of incremental return on ad spend on your user acquisition campaigns?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Vincent. Good morning, Vincent. Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and share some of our experience at IsCool. So, in my company, so IsCool, we are currently focusing on the word game genre. So before answering your question, let me share just some of the things to know about our word games. So in a word game, we keep players engaged with the game on the long term. To give you an idea, 50% of our daily active users have played the game for more than 6 months and 30% for more than a year. So it is a long-term business, and as a consequence, a long-term return on advertising spends. So we do have positive return on investment with a good margin, but we have to play on the long run. So here, we are not talking about a genre where you can expect positive return on ad spend after 7 days or very short term. Here, we're talking about 6 to 8 months or sometimes more. So this clearly means that we have to have a really good understanding of the lifetime value at the user level to be able to monitor your user acquisition campaigns. Now, monitoring revenue per user is quite easy when revenues are in-app purchase, because you get the revenue per user. Okay. Yeah. But when it comes to advertising revenues, it is much more difficult, just because attributing advertising revenues at a player level has always been difficult. So as our revenues are made of, let's say, 20% of in-app purchase and 80% of advertising, this is their problem that we've had to tackle at IsCool. So the first solution we had developed a few years ago was not so bad. It consisted in counting the impressions and attributing the same revenue for all impressions, let's say on a format in a country. This wasn't bad, but we know this wasn't accurate enough because each impression actually has a different value. And that value depends on the player, of course, but it also depends on the number of impressions on the same player. We all know that the first impression is usually better paid than the following ones. And it also depends on the seasonality, things like that. So when you and MoPub came with the impression level revenue data, we welcomed the innovation because it now gives us the true value of each impression and we can send it to our analytics. This means that now we can build and we are now very confident about the revenues per player. And so we are very confident on what we measured on as a return on investment. Nice. So back to your question, how did we achieve a plus 15% return on ad spend using impression level revenue data? Because that was a question. Well, it's easy. I mean, it's just by measuring a true revenue per user, which gives us a true return on ad spend per source, which was different from the one we had before. And this allowed us to cut unprofitable sources and push profitable sources. So basically, that was the right decision. And so we achieved a better return on investment, globally speaking.
Very nice, understood. Yeah, so we can definitely filter at the user level which campaign and source to push. Thanks. That's so. You said you have let me follow up. You have a long-term ROI for your campaign. So how do you optimize your campaign? Do you wait 6 months to know the lifetime value of the users before doing some optimizations?
It's not exactly. We usually have a positive return on advertising spend, let's say after 6 months or more. But we, of course, need to take optimization decisions much earlier. So for that, what we have done is the following. We have models to do long-term lifetime value prediction with only 3 days or 7 days of player activity, which means that we are pretty confident with the return on ad spend only after a few days after the installs. So even if the return on investment is on the long term, we will know it after 3 or 7 days. And this was feasible, of course, because of good modelization skills, but also because of more accurate data coming from impression level revenue data.
Very nice, very interesting. So within 3 days of the install, you already can predict like what's going to be the value of the user 6 or 12 months ahead. That's
yes, that's pretty much, and it works pretty much well.
Nice. Well, that's very strong prediction in here and model. Interesting to know that. So now that you have all this data, impression level revenue data per users, how granular do you go in segmenting those users from that you acquire?
So about the granularity, so as we have all data at the player level, we can have all granularity that we want. We can do it at a network level, we can do it at a campaign level, we can do it at a creative level, at a keyword level, at a source level. So we can do everything. So to be a bit more precise, when we work with Facebook or Google Universal App Campaign, as a lot is automatized on their side, we mostly run analysis at a campaign level. So we don't deep dive into so much granularity. But when it comes to ad networks, let's say Iron Source, Unity, or AppLovin, or when it comes to keywords with, for example, Apple Search Ads, clearly we deep dive in return on ad spend at the source or the keyword level. And that is necessary to optimize the campaigns.
Okay, very, very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of granularity. Sometimes you probably can get lost probably. So what about the creative? Because I know now creative is being the big topic. We understand that this is what really making the difference in some user acquisition campaign. Do you also look at this granularity?
Well, there is a paradox because creative is so important for user acquisition. This is clear, but usually we don't look at granularity per creative, as we consider that the winning creative mostly gets 80% of the campaign budget. So if you look at the campaign level, it's okay. This said, it is not a bad idea to have a look at it sometimes. Well, all developers sometimes make creatives that you might think they have nothing to do with the game, right? And these are the ones you should actually take a look at. Why is that? Because even if you have a better CPIs, they might have sometimes a lower return on investment. So sometimes you have to deep dive and go to the creative granularity.
Okay, yeah, I understand. So what are the examples for you today in your specific case of word game that you consider high performing creativity?
Well, about creatives, so it's not easy to say, but well, to give you an answer, what we see today is best-in-class creatives at the moment are pushing the idea, you know, of improving your brain or keeping your brain very young or keeping your brain smart or measuring your IQ. So we have a lot of stuff like that at the moment, you know, all about making your brain work better.
Yeah, we all want to keep our brain younger and younger again. So that's something attractive to me as well if I want to play word games.
It is a forever young value proposition of our
Very
game.
nice. Well, thanks for bringing that to the people, actually. I think I love Scrabbles, but playing games is a good way to keep young. So good point. Nice. So moving on, I had this question now. As we touched on a little bit on all the changes, was about more about automation. So what do you do today is to kind of make the life of your teams simpler, easier? And what do you do for automation on the user acquisition and the monetization side?
So, well, automation is an important topic for user acquisition. There are some companies that have products offering UA automation. And to a certain extent, a company like Google with the Universal App Campaign has developed the concept of automation, as you just have to upload creatives and set a goal, and then it does everything for you, and a bit the same for Facebook. So that is exactly the reason why I'm not looking for more automation on Facebook or Google campaigns, as it is already automated. But when it comes to ad networks or search ads, it's a bit different, as automation has two benefits. First benefit, you don't waste time doing the very time-consuming optimization line after line. So you save time. And the second benefit is you can find opportunities because you will run optimization on a more regular basis. And as a consequence, you will spot early signs of new source or new keywords that can scale. So back to your question, we at IsCool, we are not using automation tools for Google or Facebook, but we are developing internal automation tools for keywords or ad networks.
Nice. Well, I understand. So a lot of internal and internalization work about your optimization, your lifetime model. So I think there's a lot of experience and knowledge we can see, like that you've developed behind that. Interesting. And that's thanks a lot, Hadrien. So that's very useful to understand. What about the monetization now? As we know, it's always both going together, user acquisition, monetization. How do you optimize this side of the advertising business?
Well, a bit the same. We have also created internal tools to automate the update of our waterfalls. So we have a lot of internal tools that we got alert when we have drops in revenues, increase or more latency or something that doesn't work. So this work. And in addition, and I think, and you know that by heart, Vincent, the future is about advanced bidding. So we are also now moving to advanced bidding with the more networks we can, and all networks available in the MoPub bidding offer. So this removes the waterfall management hassle, and it works pretty well. As you know, some of the networks already 85% of the revenues generated by some of the networks is made only with this bidding new offer. So this is very interesting.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's true. We were definitely heading towards a full real-time bidding world for the monetization side. So it seems that all networks have been thinking about it and preparing last year, and this year is really the year where I think we can expect pretty enough to see all the major networks being available on main platform real-time bidding. And I think that will change the jobs of monetization manager, because no more waterfall management, as you say, and they can move on to more optimization, A/B testing of, I suppose, ad frequencies, gameplays, etc. So that's very interesting. Thanks. Now the $1 million question. This is our kind of last question. Say, how are you guys? I think everybody is getting prepared for iOS 14 changes in the IDFA collection. And what are you guys doing on the IsCool team to prepare for those challenges on the user acquisition side?
Well. So iOS 14. So iOS 14 is a tricky topic, and I'm sure you will have a conference today with a lot of experts about iOS 14. But my feeling is that iOS 14 will lead to big changes, and it will impact companies like IsCool on both sides, as an advertiser and as a publisher. And as a comparison, the impacts will certainly be much stronger than those of laws such as GDPR, which was, the impact was very low, in fact. So.
Yeah. So we understand Europe is a kind of key market for you indeed, but definitely iOS 14 now is a worldwide impact.
Yes.
So it's going to be much wider. And on the publisher side, can you tell us on the monetization, what do you feel is going to change as well?
Well, of course, as a publisher, first, we don't know exactly what the impact will be on advertising revenues. The only thing we know is that targeted advertising won't be possible anymore with a part of the audience. Some platforms, let's say advertising leading platforms, expect revenues to fall by 50%, which would force a business model rethink. So what we have done so far, the company has just to adapt. It's easy. I mean, we have integrated the Apple App Tracking Transparency Framework in our apps, and we will start testing this app tracking transparency pop-up on a small part of our audience, and we will measure the opt-in rate. And this will be the starting point of to iterate on what we should do next. But I have not a lot more to say for now. But what very important point, as a developer, if we have any doubt about the compliance of some advertising SDKs, we won't take any risk and we will remove them from our apps. This is very important, as we know that some companies will try to do fingerprinting which is absolutely prohibited in iOS 14. This was announced last week by Apple. So let's be clear, no fingerprinting. And as you know, the risk for an app is on the developer side, because the developer is liable for its apps, not the SDK companies. So we will remove any SDK with trouble and things like that.
Okay, yeah, rather not take any risk. You're right. Now the rules of the app stores are becoming much stricter, and I think publishers want to respect and stick to that rather than take any risk. Thanks. So, and as an advertiser now, how do you see iOS 14 changing?
As an advertiser, the change is big also. My understanding is that the tracking, as we have discussed it before in this interview, so say CPI and LTV tracking at the player level, things like that, this will not be possible anymore on opt-out players. You will get only a sort of a average CPI and average LTV. This will be the only thing accessible to us. So in some way, it is the end of the attribution and marketing as we know it now. And as fingerprinting is forbidden, we will not be able to attribute opt-out players. So on our side, again, what we have done so far is simply integrating the SK ad network framework to be sure we will still work on a CPI basis with the advertising networks. And we have implemented a first version of the conversion value, but this will certainly and probably be changed in the future because we don't know exactly how it will work. But about iOS 14, just a word on what we think. So this is clearly, let's say, this is a big change, but this is clearly not the end of the iOS activity. The business model will be resynced, but I think that there will certainly be a new business model on iOS, and we will find new ways to balance CPI, LTV, etc. The thing is the transition between now and the post-iOS 14 world is a tricky issue for companies like us because we are buying users at today's price. It takes 6 to 8 months to get a positive return on investment, which means that the iOS 14 change will happen during that period. So if the revenues fall, then there is a risk that we may never get our return on investment on those players. So we have to be careful. So as a consequence, and I'll say at the conclusion on my side, we are very cautious. We wait to get learnings and benchmarks. And I have to say, I am personally very, very surprised by the huge uncertainty and the fact that so much remains unknown and unanswered. It is very surprising. When you talk to leaders from advertising or attribution companies, you'll see that they are still in the dark, and there is huge uncertainty with only a few weeks left before big changes. So we'll see. I mean, time will tell, but we are ready, but we don't know exactly how it will happen.
Yeah, wow, thanks for those details, Hadrien. Yeah, that's for sure. For an industry that is very based on analytics, data, and forecasting, those changes brought in by Apple is definitely putting everybody on a fight mode and being ready to adapt as soon as possible. That's a very big things to come in the next months and to keep an eye. And I think every developers are talking together to get that. But thanks so much, Hadrien, getting to impression level revenue data to understand your management of user acquisition and monetization campaign at a granular level, and getting your insight on iOS 14 was a very, very precious feedback and testimony today. So I'm sure the audience have appreciated that a lot. So yeah, thank you here, and Chris, over to you.
That was brilliant. I mean, that was fantastic. Really great job, both Vincent and Hadrien. I got chills when you said the end of the arbitration app marketing as it is now. I'm kind of, oh, I know what you mean. That there's so much uncertainty, and we're all kind of just sort of going ahead. And there's this kind of meteor coming towards the industry, and everyone's just kind of going, okay, it'll be all right. But there are strategies. But yeah, it's good to, in a way, to hear people being so open about it and saying, yeah, this is, we don't know.
Yeah, it might raise the question as well of what about Android? Are they going to try to follow a similar step? Are publishers going to develop more on Android? There's a lot of questions still.
Yeah, well, maybe someone from Google will pop in an answer. I don't think so. I have got a couple of questions. You've got loads of questions in the chat, so you might want to, or in the Q&A. So if yourself or Hadrien wants to go in and answer some of those, you can. But I'll get a couple through because we did start a bit late, so I'll give you a couple before moving on. So there's a question here from Vincent asking about what's not you, Vincent, different Vincent. What retention indicators do you look at in the early stages of player lifetime? So I don't know if that's something that either Vincent or Hadrien you want to answer.
What retention indicators we look? Classic retention indicators. So basically day 1, day 3, day 7, day 30. We have benchmarks, we have targets. I mean, and so we have a look to that.
Did you mention, Hadrien, so that you're looking at the number of level plays for your models that helps you kind of determine?
Yes. Well, yes, of course. The main objective is a return on investment. So we look at the money we make. But of course, before that, there is the retention. Before the retention, there are the number of level played. So we have a lot of dashboards to follow all activities of the players. But what is true is that it might be true in a lot of game genre, but in the word game, I can tell you that doing like level designing and precise level design is absolutely key to keep players, because as you play with the language, there is something, you know, you have to for each language you have to get the right word. It's not only doing translation, it's like having a proper level design for each language.
Yeah. There's loads of questions here. You might want to follow. There's a lot of people. You've piqued a lot of interest here. What was the most important and crucial insight which you got from impression level data, which you were not getting from other data that you were previously measuring? Was a question here from an indie developer.
Yeah, I understand this question. So my answer would be, we get granularity because the total revenues, the total advertising revenues, we have it for. We had it for a long time, but the difference with impression level revenue data is that you can get the value of one impression, and as you know that this player at this impression, you can really build the advertising revenue per a user.
Yeah. I'm gonna get one more question because I think the rest of them. The rest might need longer answers, might need to be answering. So I don't know if you can see the Q&A, but feel free to answer if you can.
Yeah, I'll be happy to jump afterward.
Yeah. The final question I've got is from Tanvir Ahmed, who says, how often do you refresh sources on the ad networks? In what pattern do new top games impact existing sources? I don't know if that's a bit of a different question.
Yeah, but well, it depends on the level of confidence we have on the campaign. For example, when we launch a campaign, we need to get learnings and then we need to optimize. So it can be quite often, I would say once a week, we will have a look to that. When we are very confident with the campaigns and we're running, you know, okay, one different point. Some of the games, they are live for more than 3 years. So we have a lot of experience. So some campaigns, we ran it for more than 3 years. So there, we only optimize maybe once every 2 weeks. We get a look at the source. When we are launching, we are much more frequently looking at that. But as I said before, we are currently developing automation tools to be sure we get the opportunities, because if you do it on a more regular basis, you will get opportunities.
Cool. I could go on. I sense we could go on, and there's, I do get back to those questions, but thank you. We have to move on. We've pushed over our time. I'm getting later all day rather than not back on time. But that was, thank you so much for being so so generous and open with the data, and thanks Hadrien, and thanks Vincent for
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. We're excited, and I'll try to jump on the chat to answer a few follow-up questions. And thank you, Hadrien, so much for all those precious context.
Awesome.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Great conference, everyone. Bye.